Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, and you know what time of week it is. That's right, it's Friday. Just get yourselves down on Friday, because it's my favorite time of the week, alright? That's right, it is my favorite time of the week, and you know why that is. It's because it's time to talk about my wrestlers of the week. But who's in the top 10? There's only one way to find out, so let's count it down. But first, of course, a few honourable mentions. First of all, I want to give an honourable mention to Omega, Hangman, Cash, and Dax from the big tag match at AEW All Out. A lot of people thought the match went too long, the crowd was sapped, and the energy was just totally taken out of the event by the horrible Matt Hardy incident. Very glad he's okay, by the way. But I still enjoyed the match, and I think if it had existed in different circumstances, we'd be looking at some points for those boys. But unfortunately, things just didn't go that way. And also, of course, I do want to give a big shout out as well. He hasn't wrestled on SmackDown last week, but I want to give a huge shout out to Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman as well for their excellent promo work. Cannot wait for Reigns to do some nasty heelish stuff and get everybody booing him, but probably cheering him, because we've been waiting for heel Reigns for a long time. And speaking of Roman Reigns, well, a relative of his is our number 10 this week, and it's none other than Jey Uso. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Jey Uso getting points on Wrestlers of the Week for a singles match, a little singles run he's on. But I'm really buzzing for it. It's unique, isn't it? It's different, little bit of a change on SmackDown, and I think I know what's going to happen. But that doesn't mean it's not going to be good. Jey Uso, of course, if you missed it, was inserted into the Fatal 4-Way #1 contenders match in the main event of SmackDown after Sheamus took out Big E backstage. So it was Sheamus, Jey Uso, Matt Riddle, and Baron Corbin. And Jey Uso picked up the win, pinning Matt Riddle as well, who's been on a bit of a push himself, so that was interesting to see. Jey, of course, now goes on to face Roman Reigns for the Universal title. He's going to lose, and probably lose horribly, and I imagine Reigns is going to do some nasty things to his relative to get himself over as a proper true heel. And I think that's really effective and really good storytelling. And while I do feel bad that this is surely happening to Jey Uso, I do hope he gets a little bit of a glimmer of hope in that match. I'd love a hope spot, like a big super kick out of nowhere, 1-2, and then a very near fall. It would be awesome. I don't think Jey Uso should win the Universal Championship, although if he did, who knows what would happen, but I still think it's a very good storytelling device. So for his excellent wrestling this week, and for the storyline potential this angle has, Jey Uso gets 1 point. Next up, let's go over to Japan and talk about Stardom, where the 5-star Grand Prix, the Stardom equivalent of the G1 Climax, is rumbling on after a sort of month-long delay due to the world being just awful this year. And Stardom ran 2 shows this week, and the wrestler in question who impressed on both of those shows is Konami. Not the up, down, left, you know, not that one. The wrestler. She's really good. If you've not checked out Konami before, I think one of her strengths is that she can mix it up with a variety of opponents, as she demonstrated this week, where she got 2 wins over both Mayu Iwatani and Giulia as well, the new big heel on the scene who seems to be a bit dominant. But then Konami said, no, stop right there. I'm winning this match. Just before... Yep, 1 sec, everybody. Hello. All right, I'll be there in a second, thank you. Cheers. It's my noodles. Oh, top. Oh. It is Friday. And the great thing about Konami is that not only did she, beat both of these opponents, but she did so with such resiliency. It's actually really nice to see. I got a side of chicken skewers as well. So she's just really good. They are delicious. Now, I don't think Konami is a frontrunner in the current standings of the 5-star Grand Prix, nor do I think really is she particularly likely to win the thing, but she's creeping her way up, and you never know what might happen. So good luck to her. I'm becoming a fan, and I'm just looking forward to seeing who she faces next. And because of the way she is, regardless of who it is, we're likely to get at least a good match, maybe a very good one. So well done, Konami. 2 points to you. Now let's move on to number 8 this week, and still the AEW Women's Champion, Hikaru Shida. Shida, of course, had a bit of one hell of a match, really, with Thunder Rosa, but she's fairly low down this week on Wrestlers of the Week, because even though it was a good match, even though she retained her title, 2 things got in the way. Number 1 is the fact that obviously this match came immediately after the Matt Hardy fall, so everybody was still a bit shocked and still a bit uncertain of how to react to how to get back into the show. And secondly as well, another important thing to mention is the fact that Shida got battered for most of this match by Thunder Rosa. She didn't get much offense in at all until the closing stretch. But obviously when Shida did fire up, it was really good to see. She was going for that stretch muffler, she was hitting her running knee, she hit the Falcon Arrow, and JR blatantly just didn't realise that it was one of her big moves, because when Thunder Rosa kicked out of one, JR just kind of no-sold it and didn't realise what was going on. But anyway, Shida did rise above all of Thunder Rosa's offense and technical awareness and her submission skills, and finally did secure the win with another big running knee. Another good match for Hikaru Shida. Her reign has been a strong one, but I'm not certain about what's happening next. That's because on this week's Dynamite, Shida came out to basically save Tay Conti from a beatdown by Nyla Rose and kind of back Nyla Rose down with her kendo stick, implying that they're going to have another match. Don't know how glad I am about that, really, because obviously Shida took the belt from Rose, and I'd like to see them not cross paths, for a little while longer yet. But that looks to be the way they're going. I mean, they've got a good chemistry between them. Their no DQ match was a good one, so maybe it will be good. I don't know, maybe we will see another good match between the pair, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. I'd just like to see some fresher faces for both women to face. Number 7 this week, and a real veteran of the indie scene, of wrestling, a real veteran of wrestling, Mercedes Martinez, who had a really good cage match main event on NXT this week against Rhea Ripley. Now, Martinez didn't win the match and also was made to look slightly less badass by the fact that Rob Stone tried to get involved on her behalf. However, losing to Rhea Ripley in a steel cage match isn't going to knock your credibility much at all, is it? And another good thing is that, basically, I just still can't get over the fact that we're seeing Mercedes Martinez on NXT on a regular basis. She's often seemed not very WWE at all, if that makes sense. She was a leading light of the women's independent scene in the States for a long, long time, and then, of course, went to... she appeared in AEW, didn't she? She was in one of the Casino Battle Royales, and I thought, wow, she is exactly what they need. For whatever reason, that didn't happen beyond that one appearance, and now she's in NXT full-time. And it's great to see, but what I'd like to see next for Mercedes Martinez is probably a more substantial feud. I'm not saying this feud hasn't been substantial with Rhea Ripley, but one that could lead to her being elevated up the card, maybe secure a title shot against Io Shirai, and get on a takeover somehow. I want to see Mercedes Martinez on a takeover, and I want to see her kicking some bloody ass, guys. But no, she's kicking some ass, guys. Kicking Billy Gunn all around. But no, a great week for Mercedes Martinez. Despite losing the match, she showed what she can do to an audience who may not have seen her in such an environment before. So well done, Mercedes Martinez. How many points is that? 4 lovely points for you. My food's getting cold. Number 6, just mentioned her previously, but it's time to talk about Thunder Rosa. Yes, she didn't win the match. Yes, she is not a double champion with the NWA Women's title and the AEW Women's title. That is still around the waist of Hikaru Shida. However, Thunder Rosa gained a lot of fans with her performance this week. This match, as I mentioned, was pretty much all Thunder Rosa in terms of offense, and it was great offense. It was varied. She was mixing it up. She was doing brawling. She was striking. She was doing submissions. She was using her technical ability. She was showing off some incredible strength as well, with the Death Valley driver on the apron and everything. And when she was selling as well, when Shida came back into the match, she was bumping all over the place. She's a real all-rounder. And I think that's brilliant for Thunder Rosa. I think she deserved to have such a showcase match. I would have loved to have seen her win the belt. It would have been a massive shock, of course, given that she wrestles for a different promotion. But I would have loved to have seen it somehow if they could have done it. And I think we might be seeing a lot more of Thunder Rosa in the future in AEW anyway. Of course, she is confirmed to wrestle at least one more match, defending that NWA Women's title on, is it next week? I think it might be on next week's Dynamite. But generally, it was a good match. It was a good performance. She was one of the people who really stole the show at All Out for me. And I think that there will be a lot more points on Wrestlers of the Week for Thunder Rosa in the future if she's utilised correctly. But I think the way she is, the cool factor she exudes anyway, is going to make it hard to mess up for AEW. Number 5 this week, we've just talked about her as well. It's Rhea Ripley, who of course beat Mercedes Martinez in that steel cage match. Now, of course, everything went off the rails a bit for Rhea Ripley when she lost the NXT Women's title to Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, a booking decision that still baffles me to this day. However, she's kind of working her way back, isn't she? Because Rhea Ripley is so intense and so powerful and so good in the ring. She's always going to stand out in the NXT Women's division, regardless of how talented that division is, because she's just so different. And that's a strength, and she uses that really well. and she wrestles kind of a bit like nobody else does in that women's division, and that was on full display in this steel cage match. She really is smash mouth, in your face, let's have a fight. And I think it was important that she won this feud with Mercedes Martinez. As much as I've just said I would have liked to have seen Martinez win, progress up the ranks, eventually get to a takeover, I think currently, Martinez still has a chance to do that, but currently it's more important for Rhea Ripley to continue to regain that credibility that maybe she lost a bit of. And needless to say, her performance in this match was great. There was the weapons getting involved, there was the brawling back and forth, a couple of high spots as well, little risky ones. Robert Stone trying to get involved over the top of the cage, and she just deals with him and he's left draping over the corner. It's all good stuff, and I do think it was the right decision to have her win. Interestingly, and I think cleverly too, they had that main event the show rather than the NXT title match for the vacant belt. That opened the show, and then this match closed it, which I think put more of a little showcase on both Rhea and Mercedes Martinez, which may have been it was an interesting order to do things in, and may have been the right one too. So a good week for Rhea Ripley. Maybe she'll be NXT Women's Champion again soon. We'll have to wait and see. Speaking of NXT champions, actually no, he's not, is he? Oh, that's awkward. Number 4 this week is Adam Cole, baby. I feel really bad now. That's because, of course, Cole took part in that sudden death overtime match for the vacant title and came up short and didn't win. However, in terms of moves and action and athletic ability and what everybody is doing in this match, this was probably the best match of the week, in a way. Cole is great at this style of match. He's great at the NXT style of wrestling, and did so with aplomb here in the... have I ever said that out loud? I don't think I've ever heard with aplomb out loud. I think I've only read that before. But he did so with aplomb in this opening match of the show. It went long, of course. It kind of had to, because it followed on from that Iron Man match, which was an hour last week. But it wasn't as over the top as that. It was a little bit more controlled. Both guys did really well. Adam Cole came up short, as many suspected he would, but it doesn't really strip momentum away from him. I think he's more interesting at the moment, actually, without the belt. The reason for that is because he congratulated his opponent backstage. He seems to be turning face. He had that feud with Pat McAfee where he was indeed the face. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm interested to see where it goes, definitely. Number 3 this week, and still the AEW World Champion, and the new leader by 1 point on the Wrestlers of the Week League table, which we'll look at in more detail later. It's Jon Moxley. Moxley just boils wrestling down to its basics sometimes, doesn't he? Really well. And that was evident in the main event of All Out, which I think was my favourite match on the show. Moxley was on form here. He kind of always is on form, really, but he was especially on form here in this match against MJF. He was the good guy, he was the babyface, but the badass Austin-type babyface, the one who isn't afraid to break the rules and make things get ugly if they need to. In fact, that was the whole story of the match. Moxley trying to engineer a brawl, a battle on the outside, a slugfest, with an opponent more versed in amateur wrestling. And Moxley did really well at this and really sold the desperation of trying to keep hold of the title. There were a lot of moments where it seemed like, oh no, Moxley's going to lose, the babyface champ, he's going to lose the belt. And then he would work his way back into the match and just be everything you want in a brave, action hero, rugged, main event babyface. He also did cheat to win. The referee was distracted by Wardlow throwing the Dynamite Diamond ring into the wrestling ring. Moxley saw the referee wasn't looking, drilled MJF with the paradigm shift, which was banned for this match, and that was enough for the win. And yes, of course, Moxley did cheat, but it works, doesn't it? Because we like our baby faces with a bit of an edge, and also MJF deserved it. He was trying to cheat. Wardlow was trying to get the Dynamite Diamond ring involved, and it cost him. So I think that's fair enough. It also leads to tension between MJF and Wardlow. It was a great piece of booking in my opinion, and a nice ending to the match. Number 2 now, and it's time to talk about the new NXT champion. Once again, the NXT champion, Finn Balor. It seems like a long time since Finn Balor was last NXT champion, but I think putting the belt on him was the right call here. That's because if Adam Cole had won the belt again in that match for the vacant title, I feel like it would have felt more like a step back for NXT. Going back, hitting the reset button, going back to before Keith Lee was even champion, and just carrying on with Adam Cole's reign as though it had never ended. Instead, I think NXT did a smart thing, putting the belt on Finn Balor. It's even more of a reset button, yes, but it's something new at the same time. It's not going to be the same as when he was first champion. There's a whole different roster of opponents for him to face, and it's going to look very interesting. Also, they have the advantage of knowing that Finn Balor always shows up in big matches. Of course he does. He did it when he was first NXT champion. He did it on the main roster on the disappointingly rare occasion that he was given a legitimately big match, and he's going to do it again in NXT. We know that for certain. This match was a great one, and I always get the sense that even though Cole is really good, and I'm a huge fan of his, even though he is, you get a sense when Balor is in the ring with most people that he is deceptively experienced. I know he looks impossibly youthful and jacked and everything, but he is older than you think, and he has been wrestling for a long, long time, which makes his speed and athleticism all the more incredible still. But his experience really shines through. He's an expert when it comes to pacing. When he slows it down, it's compelling, and then when he hits the gas and makes his comeback, it's really, you can't take your eyes off it. So that was the opening match of NXT. It was probably the best, like, wrestling match of the week, if that makes sense. But there was one match that I enjoyed just a little bit more, and it was far more simple. And that's where we're going to find my wrestler of the week. Let's take a look at number one. Number one is, of course, this week, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. MJF, he's better than you, and you know it. And everyone else at AEW knows it now as well, because he put on a hell of a show at All Out. Even though he lost the main event, MJF's talent really shone through. This is my favourite match of his so far, and I think he was absolutely superb in his role. The point of MJF here was trying to out-wrestle Jon Moxley, and doing so and succeeding for quite a lot of the match, then getting more desperate when realising that he can't actually put this monster away, and then resorting to cheating, and then losing, and then crying about it, and being a horrible heel, and it's all happened, and it's brilliant. I did think, though, I did have a bit of a moment where, like, two roads diverged in a yellow wood, like a real, like, butterfly effect moment. Like, what would happen if MJF had won the match? How would wrestling look even now, a week later? Dynamite would be a very different place. I'm sure he would have laughed it up all over the shop and changed everything to his liking. But we'll never know for now. Because I think MJF will be AEW World Champion at some point in the future, won't he? It's just a matter of when, not if. But for now, he does still have a compelling story going forwards with Wardlow. They are continuing this weird slow burn of Wardlow potentially turning, like Batista on Triple H, on MJF. And MJF's getting more and more antagonistic towards Wardlow, blaming him for the loss last weekend. And nobody can wait for Wardlow to snap and really teach MJF a lesson. But simultaneously, we've got this idea of what is next for MJF, because that might be a little way down the line, but he's still got a feud with someone in the meantime. Could they be entering the tag team division? Because we know that Jericho and Jake Hager are also doing so, and if they clashed, that would be really entertaining. We've already had the tease of MJF and Jericho feuding with each other, butting heads while being nice on the surface. I'd love to see that come around. And maybe MJF would give Jericho maybe Jericho would give MJF a big win, is what I definitely meant to say. But that's all for the future. Not quite certain what's going to happen, but I can't wait to see it. And what a week it is for MJF. Congratulations, you are my wrestler of the week. Now, let's take a look at the league table. So yes, as I mentioned, there's a new leader on the table, Jon Moxley, by 1 point from Cody. We don't know when Cody's going to be back. Obviously, he's got his new show coming out soon. Anyway, Kenny Omega and Drew McIntyre follow. Keith Lee, Shingo Takagi. As we're moving down the list, a lot of excellent wrestlers in this top 25. It's been a very competitive year. Of course, the G1 Climax is on the horizon as well, so a lot of New Japan wrestlers get a chance to really capitalize on some points too. And we could see a lot of serious points as well for Roman Reigns. What's he going to do? When's he going to turn fully evil? Probably going to be quite soon. Look out, Jey Uso, and look out all of you too. So thanks very much for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and recommendations for wrestlers of the week if you wish. Stay safe out there as well. Stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.